Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wise Woman podcast. I'm so excited to introduce my friend and inspiration, Tracy Litt. Tracy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited to be in your energy. It already feels so good. I've been looking forward to this call. Let's start with just a brief backstory, how you got into the transformational healing work that you are sharing with women all around the world and where this originated from.
Well, where it originated from was the depth of my ancestors, right? I come from a long, long line of very wise Yiddish women. And we were of the tribe where, my grandmother would always tell me, the women, we stayed up 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, just talking and, basically solving all of their world's perceived problems, and the men would go to sleep, right? So the truest origin is this has been bequeathed. This is my calling, and it was gifted to me. My grandmother gifted it to my mother. My mother started it, but she left this physical body, so she couldn't finish it, and I picked it up. So that's the depth of where this really comes from. And my more recent, my life story, I was in corporate America, and doing all the things that, I was told to do and doing well. And I owned a house and I had a daughter, and it came from being a single mother previously, but, I had all the boxes checked. And my soul was dying, and it was an absolute, like, it wasn't words, it was a sense in my body, like a gnawing feeling. There's got to be more. You are tapped for more. That you can't die like this, basically. And the courage to answer that call, the courage to lean into the depth of fear that I felt when I then said, okay, so if I'm not supposed to be doing this, then what am I to be doing? What is this call? So started researching self-help and psychotherapy and social work and anything that would serve people. And that's when I stumbled upon human growth and development. And once I entered that rabbit hole, I was like, what is this place? This is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And then the rest kind of became history.
Tracy, I love it. I love how you're honoring your lineage by showing up. I think so many of us have this, what we're told to do, this corporate America background, and then we feel the gnawing. And I know you and I met through Kathy Heller, which was such a divine introduction where we just met and held each other and our hearts connected in that moment. And you shared something over those days together that has stuck with me and sits with me regularly in my practice, which is stop abandoning yourself. And it sounds like those couple words were very present for you early on in your journey and continues to be so for your soulmate clients. So for anyone who's listening who feels like they abandon themselves, this is coming out during the holiday season. They're going to be, many people might be exhausted, completely depleted, editing themselves in a high way around their loved ones. When someone continuously abandons themselves, how can they walk themselves back home?
The first place that we get to be here together is there is nothing wrong with you. Do not allow this awareness of self-abandonment to turn into being against yourself or being mean to yourself, or I can't believe I've been self-abandoning. Like, I just need to cut that off right away, because that's where your current identity and psyche will take things. We all abandon ourselves until we don't, because that's what we were modeled, and that's what we were brought up in, and that's what we were shown to do. Never have I met a woman who was told, baby, you have needs. Let's make those needs get met. Please choose yourself first. Please prioritize how you're feeling, right? We were raised in a world and in a society that showed us everyone else but you. Put your feelings secondary or tertiary to what's going on in your family, or what's going on with your spouse, or what's going on with your company. And it became the absence of self-trust, which becomes self-abandonment and self-betrayal. So let's just let that be, because there's nothing wrong with you, and you actually did not choose this path. it is the path we all walk until we hear a loving conversation like this and we go, oh shit, I am abandoning myself. I am betraying myself. So let's just start with that. And whew, how do we walk ourselves back home from that? Number one, your willingness to go, okay, I have been abandoning, not using my voice, not sharing my truth, not honoring my needs, not being willing to acknowledge that I have needs, not prioritizing myself. The way that we walk ourselves back is by starting to become aware of where is that abandonment showing up, right? Where is that self-betrayal showing up? Where are you not having the conversation? Where are you not being honest? And I'm not talking about like false level honesty. I am talking about the honesty behind the honesty, that when you tap into it, you get a little bit nauseous. That's the truth for you. And when you undo the pattern of self-abandonment, you step into liberation and you step into the fullest expression of yourself. And you step into this, feel this essence as I'm about to say this, okay? Take me or leave me, either way, awesome. That's what we're going for. And that is creation. And that is the process of evolving your identity. And that is what it means to become her. And in the most important part of this whole game, that's what it means to create generational change. You are not creating any help for your children or your children's children or healing anything about your ancestry if you are continuing the pattern of self-abandonment and self-betrayal.
Tracy, it feels so good. And you're also telling me exactly what I need to hear, which I know a lot of people will resonate with. And then here's the thing that I really grapple with as a student of spirituality, of self-development, as a student of A Course in Miracles, which I feel like that's a path for so many of us, that we first go through Christianic terminology and then remember, oh, I'm a Jewish woman from the North Shore of Chicago. I like $6 lattes, like different things where we kind of remember who we are. But one of the greatest practices that I teach, honestly, is I rather be happy than right. And it has led me into the way that it has shown up in my life is I have allowed people to walk over me in that spiritual practice. And I can think of a very recent, because of our current political climate, where someone was very upset with our differing beliefs. And I just chose I rather be happy. Like, you can relax in your rightness. I'm not going to argue with you in this conversation. We're not going to get down to the details of politics. And I essentially let somebody yell at me for 35 minutes, a family member. And I was in my loving, I rather be happy than right. I relaxed into that, and I'm still pissed off. I'm really upset with myself, to the point where the call dropped in the middle of it, and it was God. Like, the call dropped and I called the person back because I didn't want them to think that I hung up on them. I wanted to create that peace. And this is already, weeks have gone by, and I feel like I abandoned myself. Why did I even allow that conversation to occur?
Oh my God, stay here, babe. This is everything, okay? Is it okay that I interrupt you?
Yes, I love it.
This is such a gift. Beautiful soul, listening to this conversation. This is so divine for you. So lean in. Erin, just finish this prompt for me. I abandoned myself in that conversation because
I wanted to feel safe and I wanted to be loved.
okay, stay right there, because it's so beautiful. And that's the beauty of all of this. When we feel unsafe, our adaptations come on the scene to create safety, and one of yours is contortionisting yourself, people pleasing, right? Whatever word you want to use around it. And that's what's so interesting about, you said, I'd rather be happy than right. In that sentiment, there's an undercurrent of pleasing. There is an undercurrent of indifference right? And there's nothing, it's totally appropriate because you needed that adaptation to stay alive and get to where you are today. And your next level of where you're going and your gorgeous work in the world and your impact in the world is the untethering of this little piece into the embodiment of the version of you that's like, you know what's loving to all? Recognizing these differences, noticing the person that I love on any level is on the other end of this dialogue, and loving myself first and foremost unconditionally to say, hey, so-and-so, I'm cool with us having differing opinions, and I'm even cool with you perceiving that your opinion is correct. And what I'm not available to do is listen to you berate me. So I'm going to hang up the phone now. I love you. Goodbye. It's both. Because it's not about being happy or being right. It's about being the most regulated person in the moment. All the time.
It's about being the most regulated person in that moment.
It's not even about, you know, that phrase, be the bigger person. I had a really interesting lesson about that because my daughter, whose father that that marriage ended when she was 8 months old, which is a whole different story. As she grew up, I would use that phrase unknowingly because I wasn't then who I am now, obviously, right? In any situation like, oh, he disappointed you again, this again, like be the bigger person. Something would happen in our household with our blended family because I have two stepdaughters who are my daughters, but with my biological daughter, oh, something happened. Taylor, be the bigger person, be the bigger person. And then she actually said to me, that doesn't feel good. Why doesn't that feel good? Because in the bigger person, what I'm perceiving is shove my shit down so that I can eat it and be the bigger person. And I went, oh, wow, spot on. And because she's conscious, because she's my daughter, we ended up arriving at, oh, so what is this really? It's being the most regulated person. Because when you're regulated, your adaptations don't come on the scene because your adaptations show up. What do I mean by that? People pleasing, perfectionism, overwhelm, sarcasm, control, things of that nature. When you're safe and when you're regulated, you're in your safety body. So you can be in that moment to go back to applying this to you and go, hold on, I'm just going to let this person do whatever they're doing. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to regulate myself and I'm going to come into safety because what's real is I am safe and I am safe within myself and on my own safety and security. So therefore, I can let her lead the version of you who no longer needs that adaptation and just use her voice very simply, letting go of taking responsibility for how that person is going to perceive you loving you.
Tracy, you're just the most potent vessel. It's so fun being in your presence. I love it. I'm so happy that you're sharing this wisdom with everyone as well. Everything that you're saying, I'm eating and digesting, and it just feels so good. And it's what I need to hear. It's what everybody needs to hear because I'm tired of being the bigger person. It doesn't feel good anymore. And then you eat it, and it becomes cancer in your body.
Yes, yes. So isn't it beautiful? Like what we're doing right now is really, this is a conversation that's going to ripple effect into wave in this world because you want to be, we are loving. This is about loving, right? This is about being loving and building a more loving world and everything that means love. So then when you're the most regulated person, it alleviates that shove it down, eat it bitterness, because in being regulated, you show up for you. So you don't have that gross, emotional hangover moment because you honored you. And if you're up against anything, it's continuing to regulate so that you don't attach to how that person responded to you actually loving yourself. And I will also add, if there's anyone in your life that doesn't respond to or with some level of quickness come around to responding to, yes, queen, I'm so glad you chose you, they need boundaries out of your life. People that love you get to love you, and you are invaluable, and your time and attention is your currency. And you're not just going to give that away to people that don't want you to honor yourself.
So what does that look like? It's the holiday season. We're showing up regulated and embodied. We're showing up in our loving. I'm always showing up. I am the light. I am in my loving. I believe magic is real. And I'm a recovering people pleaser, very in it still, especially as a new mom trying to learn how to navigate that. And we're confronted with family that we love that isn't allowing us to shine or allowing us to be our authentic self, and we're heavily edited. I'm always of the belief to build bridges instead of walls, which is an exact verbiage out of my mom's mouth. Is there a middle ground there, or are you saying, Mel Robbins says let them, and I struggle with the let them as well because it also sounds like,
Well, here's the thing about that. There's something interesting also you just said a moment ago. They allow you. There was an abdication of your power in your language. You were saying, that they allow you to be. This is not about anybody else. This is about what you allow for yourself and what you tolerate for yourself. And I want everyone to know, right? Just like all judgment is self-judgment, all trust is self-trust. Everything starts and stops with you. So let's not put our power outside of us and go, what do they allow me to be? It's like, oh, no, 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 no. I'm a sovereign being. What do I allow myself to be? I'm gonna let them tolerate it or make a new choice. Right? So there's that. Let them is incomplete. I don't disagree with it. It's incomplete. Because what do you do with your needs? Yes, let them think what they want. Let them respond how they want. Let them hold any opinions they want. Let them project their shit. Yes, yes, yes. And how do you love yourself, right? To your question, there's a few things. I love a good, yummy, uncomfortable conversation. I'm a huge fan. And not in the moment of heat or in the moment of dissonance, but in a neutral moment, right? Where you would say, let's just, I'm gonna give an example of, it's the holidays and this is something with your mother-in-law, okay? Having a preemptive neutral conversation ahead of time. Hi, can we have a phone chat? Hi, can we meet for coffee? I have something that feels really hard for me to talk about. It feels vulnerable to me, and I really want to feel more connected. Are you available to have that kind of conversation? If they're not, they're not. And then you get to jig within yourself to reorient your expectations of that and change some things. More often than not, I've never had a woman tell me that the other person wasn't open to a dialogue, whether or not it landed where they wanted to land. But what do we all want? You know this. Connection. We all want love and connection. It's just that who's regulated, bold, and conscious enough to lead that very treacherous, messy, muddy, vulnerable path that ultimately becomes this like open, delicious river of like, oh my God, yes. And then you understand each other. And then all the judgments that you had that were building up more disconnection from that person naturally just fall away because you went into the hard place that was creating the contortionisting in the first place. So that's like my direct answer. What would I do? I would lean in and regulate. And what do I mean by regulate? Breathing in different depth, rate, and patterns, right? Like breathing in for 4 through your nose, holding it for 4, breathing out for 4, and holding it for 4. Alternate nostril breathing, grounding in the grass, shaking your body, putting headphones on and turning on a song that you just love and closing your eyes and dancing like a fool maniac, like nobody can see you, and just allowing yourself to be back in your body in a regulated place. And from there, that's where your power is. A woman who is in her body is in her power, and a woman who is in her body is regulated.
so often people in my community will listen to these episodes or they'll join my seminars and they understand they need to know who they are. They understand that the magic is living their most nourished, authentic life. And they will say to me, Erin, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know how to get back to this version of me that has a pulse, that has a vibration, that can create authentic connection, because I don't know where the light is anymore. And breath work and meditation and returning to a regulated state is so important. What else would you recommend?
My highest recommendation is a full evolution of your identity, because that includes a rewiring of your brain and the thoughts that you think. It includes paying attention to the language that you speak. It requires going into the depths of the program that you're currently running that you didn't choose. The reason why we feel that way, that like, who am I even, is because you didn't choose who you are. Erin, when I first started in this industry and I learned this, I was like, I'm sorry, what? So I'm running under a program and conditioning and a set of beliefs that were forced into me, that I didn't choose any of them. And what I'm understanding at the level of science is I can take out every one of those beliefs and examine it and decide, does that align, does it not? And I can get rid of the ones that aren't me and I can choose new ones. Like, that's why we don't know who we are, because we didn't choose it. We became the byproducts of the people who raised us and the times we were raised in and the events that created the trauma that stuck in our bodies and all these other things, and the depth of trauma that happened to our ancestors. And it's like, whoa. So there's nothing wrong with you once again. You're exactly where you need to be. So it's breath work as a gorgeous modality to get back into the body. Of course, and meditation, because you see the truth with your eyes closed and we want to do less thinking. And then it's also decongesting yourself emotionally and starting to feel and changing the way you think and literally choosing your belief system and reprogramming it into you so that you're operating from a different level of yourself, from a different identity. It's designing yourself. It's being courageous enough to go, this is actually what lights me up. This is what my heart is craving. This is what feels like truth to me, which creates a ton of fear and super appropriate biological fear, because you stepping into the truth of who you are and getting bigger and bolder and more expressed than you've ever been is a direct threat to every connection you have. It just is. But let's go back to the top of the call. That's self-abandonment. If you're going to choose the comfort of other people while you wither away and die like this, you have officially abandoned yourself for your lifetime. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to grab some courage here and I'm going to stop abandoning myself. I'm going to prioritize the truth of my desires because, oh yeah, this is my lifetime. The only singular one I get is Tracy Litt. It's the only singular one you get. And beautiful listener, this is it. You are a spirit and a soul in a meat suit. You are a spirit in human form. This is your go in this life. What do you actually want to do with it? Time is fleeting. My mother died. I was holding her hand. I was 24 years old. What a crazy ass gift that gave me to understand the relativity of life. You know it. We all have those moments. You get a diagnosis, someone dies, something goes on. And for those 2 weeks, you are like, oh my God, I get it. I have clarity. I know what's important. I'm going to get after it. I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to start doing that. And then 3 months later, you're back to the same shit. It has to stop. Like this conversation, let it be your loving smack in the face.
Where's God in all of this?
Everywhere. Everywhere. For me, I resonate with the universe in terms of how I speak to this thing that's bigger than all of us. And it's everywhere. It's the safety net. It is the actual safety net, because there's only goodness and there's only support. Even in the moments when you're on your knees begging for something different, even in the moments when it feels like straight shit. Highest good does not mean it feels good. Highest good means there's something bigger than you at play and you gotta let go a little bit. So it's everywhere. It is the thing that empowers me to move through the world as Tracy Litt.
Amen.
Yeah.
So as we are on this path and we are regulating our nervous system and we are having the hard but juicy conversations and we are working to truly stop abandoning ourselves and we want to access the thing that we most desire. I have this wonderful article that you shared a beautiful quote in about manifestation with the Zoe report, which is bustle. And you shared that manifesting, we are always manifesting, and it's what you be, it's what you are embodying. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means to you?
Yes. The first piece being like you don't start to, right? You already are. So it speaks to and feeds into part of what we teach at the School of Becoming about we're not separate, right? We notice we're one. So if we perceive that we have to start manifesting, then we are feeling like we are actually separate from our powers to manifest, but you're manifesting all the time. So like, yeah, you. One less thing for you to have to overcome and have to do. The question becomes, what is being manifested into your reality? And what we manifest comes from who we be, meaning what is our resonance? What is our vibration? What is our frequency, right? What do we put out into the world? You know, we know that energy doesn't lie. You can be in a room and someone walks in and you're like, why do I feel like I kind of can't breathe and I just need to go? Or conversely, someone could walk in a room and you'd be like, I just feel like lighter. My heart's a little open. Who is that? I think I need to go talk to that person, right? So I want to invite everyone to sense it as like, what if you just walked around as love on legs? What if you just like poured love on everything, right? What's your energy when you're driving in the car? What's your first thought when you hit traffic? When you're standing in line at the grocery store, are you annoyed that there's 4 people in front of you? Or are you just chilling, being patient? And maybe having some empathy for the cashier and the fact that nobody's donating every single time they say, hey, do you want to make a donation to the March of Dimes? Right? Like just, who are you being? Who are you being when you are in this world? And that is outside of your physical body, we have an electromagnetic field. And the electromagnetic field can be so potent, it can go 12, 15, 20 feet, like an actual energetic circumference around your physical body. And, you know, if you visualize that and you imagine everyone walking around, it's like, if my field touches your field, what am I rubbing off on you? Right? Like, what is that? Is it trust and love and oneness and patience and empathy and connection? Or is it judgment and separation and fear and annoyance and frustration and expectation? And that will dramatically shift your manifestations and what your reality looks like, because then you're focusing on your frequency and you're focusing on your resonance. You're not focusing on like the thing that I watch mess up manifestation so much is the like, okay, I'm going to manifest 10 new clients. And then a week later, you're like, where are my clients? Right? So you're manifesting with attachment instead of trust and surrender. We have to stop also looking down at our current reality to show us the thing that we're so impatiently like it's like a fall, you're like faking the funk on surrender and trust. You're not actually embodying trust. You're just like doing it long enough to maybe see the fruits of the new result or the reality in your manifestation. But that's pushing it further away because you're not embodied in your being, right? There's a question I want to gift you to start to play with as you recognize this. Is my behavior communicating trust? Right? Is my behavior to God, to universe, to source, whatever your jam is my behavior communicating trust? All of a sudden you're about to be like, whoa, I got to like open my body a little bit, right? In anything. I have 3 daughters in college. Like there's 1,000 examples I can give you. Like, ooh, is the way I respond to that communicating trust, right? Is the way my body's responding to that communicating trust. There's 100 things going on infrastructurally in our company right now. Ooh, last night I had a moment where I was like, oh, Trace, that's interesting. That was not communicating trust. What was that? Right? And I did what I needed to do for myself. But the more ease you feel in your inner environment, the faster and more fluidly the manifestations that are yours will arrive in your reality, because ease in the inner environment is the emotional signature of trust. And trust is, to me, the signal that allows the universe to move for you, right? We think control, but control is the interference. And every time we control something, which is control and worry and expectation and force and push and need, every time we're in that mode, I want you to visualize it as you're literally like bumping God out of the equation. You're bumping the universe out of the equation. And you've got God and the universe looking at you like, really? You think your addiction control could do more for you than I can? Can you just let me in here? Can you just let me help? So yes. And I laugh about that because I am the president and founder of Control Freaks Anonymous. That was my adaptation. Oh my gosh. So hardcore.
And we try to control, we think we know better than God. We add in so many layers to this to protect ourselves. And then it subtracts miracles. It doesn't leave space for it.
That space. Miracles.
Where am I communicating trust? It's a really powerful mantra. You talked about your 3 daughters. I know you met my sweet Eden in LA, and she's so delicious. She's playing with my dad downstairs right now, which is really sweet and healing and such a gift. How can we raise our daughters differently? Because we're conditioned to people please, to make ourselves small, to constrict. And it's leading to self-abandonment and dis-ease and a whole community of women that don't know who they are at their core. And then we repeat the cycle over and over. Yeah. How can we raise them differently?
Thank you so much for this question, because one of my biggest drivers is wanting to build this new world for my kids. You know, I'm one of 3 girls. I have 3 girls. The School of Becoming is for women, right? So there's like a theme. And we, in this generation, have the divine moral responsibility to solve for that question that you just asked in a way that no other generation has had the ability or technologies or level of consciousness to do so. And the way, there is one singular answer, the way that we help our children is by committing to doing the work of ourselves. Nothing. I am now watching my daughters 18, 20, and 21. My daughter Taylor's college essay, which was, she's a junior in college, in words wrote, I watched my mother ascend from a single mother on food stamps to the founder of $1 million growth company. And did she cook every meal? No. Did she show up to every volleyball game? No. Do I care? No. Watching my mother showed me that I'm limitless and I can do anything I decide to do, that I'm worthy and I'm whole. There's nothing else but that, everyone who's listening, nothing. You are modeling, co-regulating, co-resonating with your children all the time. It is not about what you say. Don't fake the funk to yourself. Whatever they watch, they become. And it's not even helpful to invest in our children's betterment if we're not actively working on our own. Because they can go and they can do a confidence workshop, but they come back into the environment where you're shrinking and abandoning yourself and people pleasing, you're just going to undo it all. So that's really the answer. And that's one of the things I get a little crazy and ranty and nutty about, because it's like, hello, you're here in the consciousness revolution where everything's available to you and we can heal ancestors and descendants and untether from things. And we are no longer living in the adaptation, and people, all these things are options now. This isn't who you are. You're not fixed. Carol Dweck broke that rule years ago when she wrote Growth Mindset, right? Nothing is fixed. So how we help our kids is by come and work on yourself, come and become, come and heal and expand and grow and learn how to think and shift your relationship with fear and become the version of you that no longer needs the adaptation that has kept you safe because you don't live in the world anymore where that adaptation got created. You realize that as a grown-ass conscious woman that you are sovereign and that you are your own safety and security and you are your own approval. And then from there, you watch your kids just like, whoa, flourish. Flourish, it's wild.
These three girls, I'm so happy for your daughters. I'm so happy for all the women listening that are going to share this with their daughters as well. And I'm just curious because obviously this plays into allowing men be men, allowing men to embody their masculine. And I have all these awakenings around feminism, which I'll just define as like a woman's right to choose if she wants to make partner at her law firm or be home and raise her kids and be a stay-at-home mom.
Mhm.
When it comes to letting men be men and letting women also be empowered, do you think feminism, and I'm dumbing it down by even using that word, but what are your awakenings around that specific conversation?
Oh, so good. Okay, a few things. That men were as screwed over by the patriarchy as women in a different way. That we have to stop making men wrong and evil. That it's not even about gender as much as it's about a level of knowledge to understand feminine energy and masculine energy, and that we all have them regardless of gender. It is an energetic thing, not a gender thing. It just happens to be called masculine and feminine. And the more we become aware and the more as women that we allow ourselves to do the work as we've been defining it throughout this whole conversation, we tap into more of our feminine energy and we feel safer allowing the men in our lives, if that's appropriate for you as you're listening, to show up in their masculine in a really important way that's really, really beneficial for them, right? So my husband, who's on his journey as a result of me being on mine, and like, not because it happened quickly, in the beginning, oh, I was so not correct about how I handled it. I was righteous and judgmental, and I was like, well, don't you know you could just think another thought and like, don't, you know, came from love, but it was just, don't go that route. You focus on yourself, just like with your kids, you keep your head down, you work on you. Eventually, people either wake up or they move out. Either way, awesome, once again, right? So my journey and being with him in his consciousness allows us to have these kind of conversations where he can also be in his feminine, where I can be in my masculine, and we play a different balance. The thing I want to kind of say about this that's important, because all of us have some level of control as an adaptation, because it's always the first line of defense before a people pleasing or a perfectionism or something else shows up. Allowing yourself to play in your feminine and allowing the man in your life to honor that feminine changed my marriage completely. Because as a control freak, I got it. I was control and hyper independence. Those were my two adaptations. Like, I will hold the boulder on my own back. It doesn't matter that 17 of you are saying I'll help. No, you won't. Watch me. Watch me affirm my worth. So in that, I realized how I was cutting his masculinity off for I would say probably the first 5 years of our marriage, easily. And the awareness of the feminine and the masculine has now allowed a connection, and my mind never makes me wrong. There's no thoughts around that I used to have when I was transitioning into this about, well, what happens when you need to be independent, or like, do you really need to be needy? Or, you know, it's like, no, 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 I'm a goddess. Can you open this jar? Can you pick that up from the top? Can you take my bag? Because it's all receptivity at the core. And when we are living in our adaptations and our overisms, functioning, doing, thinking, analyzing, whatever, we cut ourselves off from being in our feminine energy. And that's where receptivity is. And receptivity is the strongest impact to your electromagnetic field.
I always let the men in my life open the jar. It's a good practice.
It's so good. And it seems like really, yeah, really, really important.
And even right now, as we're having this conversation, I'm in Chicago at my parents' house, and I I needed help, and I said, Dad, can you please just watch Eden for an hour? And it gives him joy in a different way. Because first he has to roll his eyes. First he has to hum and haw. First he has to make sure that he checks the market and does like all these little things beforehand. And then he can relax into supporting me. And I can receive his support. And it's new for us. And it's powerful for us. And then we're both uplifted in the moment. And it's so good for my Eden as well.
Yes. So important. I mean, spending time with her grandfather, spending time with anyone in your family is so important.
Tracy, I love you. I love being with you. I think so often when people listen to my episodes, especially with a guest, I add a lot of teachings, I chime in a different way, and I want people to recognize how I view Tracy as such a like truly superior educator in this space from a place of you're showing me and listeners what's possible. I just adore you and I love being in your energy. And everything that I asked you are questions that I'm really debating that I wouldn't ask a lot of people. Because truthfully, and I think we all do this, is I I know what I know, and I'm only going to source wisdom from people that I think are tapped in a different way than I am, or are years ahead of me in a different way that I am. So I applaud you. I adore you deeply. Assuming this episode goes viral, because I know it's going to share such healing and wisdom and medicine for so many people. What are some words that you would like to share with everyone?
In the spirit of the theme of this show, wisdom, I want to share that once you allow yourself to fully process the emotion of any occurrence, event of your life, whether it was last week or 25 years ago, and you allow that emotional processing to happen, it's then and only then that you can extract the wisdom of what that moment was for you. Wisdom is the absence of the trigger and the emotional charge. Wisdom is what's left when you have fully allowed yourself to process and feel. And from that space, you elevate into another level of consciousness and you go, whoa. And that kind of wisdom is sage.
Beautiful. I want you to share with everyone all your links and details, but I want to talk about School of Becoming and your amazing live event that's happening in April.
Yes, thank you so much. So the schoolofbecoming.com, that's our home. Come there. There's a library of free resources, assessments, all kinds of fun things to start to play. So the School of Becoming is where women come to become who they're capable of becoming so that they can leave their legacies and create new realities and heal and grow and ascend. It occurred to me that we needed a new school of thought. We understand school. We've all go to school on various levels. So why not build a school that is centered around you doing the most vital work of your life, which is you? And that's the premise of the school. And inside the school, we have a core curriculum, which is our neuroidentity evolution methodology. And it starts with mind magic. And mind magic is always offered in semesters virtually. It's like a hybrid where you learn and we integrate coach. And very rarely we put out an experience where I teach live. So we are hosting Mind Magic Live, which is the event you were alluding to. So instead of coming through Mind Magic and doing a 12-week journey, you come into the room with me at a gorgeous luxury resort in Palm Beach on the ocean for 5 days. And I live teach and live workshop and live transform you in the room, going through the entire methodology. And it is, it's hard for me to find words for it because it's the kind of thing where my promise is you will come in as who you are and you will leave embodied in your next level. And you will have everything you need inside of you to know I've got it and I am my own guru moving forward. And you get to be along luscious women like us who are jamming out on their own growth and their own consciousness. And it's just a different frequency. So that's Mind Magic Live, and it's happening April 7th through the 11th.
That sounds so wonderful, Tracy. I'm sure there are going to be listeners that will take action on that. You are the most amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. This has just nourished me. Thank you.